All right, thank you for confirmation. So we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for joining our Azure Talk session today. And today we are going to cover Azure Stack, and this is session one. Probably we'll have another session upcoming, and we'll communicate to you the next session details about the next session. So what is Azure Talk? In past, we have conducted more than 38 sessions on Azure and Azure-related technology, and every Saturday we cover these topics around 11 a.m. Eastern time, which is 8:30 p.m. Now it was 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, but due to daylight savings, it's now 8:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So we have been covering a lot of concepts on Azure, and today we have decided that we're going to cover Azure Stack. And I have been joined by Ashish Mane, who is enterprise architect with Capgemini, and he has volunteered to present this session. So it's a joint work between me and Ashish. And as you know, I'm Neeraj Kumar. I'm lead cloud architect. I'm also an MCD, Microsoft certified trainer. And I have been in industry for more than 17 years, and I've worked with Microsoft, and currently I'm working with one of the 4 audit firm as a cloud architect. We do have our own website, so in case you want to receive our regular meeting invites, please do feel free to register on www.cloudeasy.com, and you will receive invite. And trust me, will not spam you. In case you just want to receive the meeting invite, you will receive one email from us every week for the meeting invite, and you will get to know what topics we're covering. Also, we have Azure Talk Telegram group. So this is an instant messenger based community chat group for Azure, and we have more than 2,600 or roughly around 2,650 members as of today, and we answer a lot of questions on Azure, anything and everything, and it's a community group, so everybody is helping each other, and we have some really good excellent community members out there who help each other. So please do feel free to join. You can join it using https t.me/AzureTalk. We also have our own Azure DevOps group, which is Azure DevOps Pro. So feel free to join both of these groups, and you will get answers to most of your questions. Plus, we have our own YouTube channel where we post the recording of these sessions. So you can also head over to youtube.com/c/AzureTalk, and you will be able to see our all past recordings, including which we have done in past in last 8 months. So with that, I will get into the agenda. And so today we are going to talk about an Azure Stack. What is Azure Stack in general? So we'll start with the layman, definition of Azure Stack, why it is needed, what was the need, the evolution, and what's the requirement of Azure Stack, and what does it fulfill, what problem it solves. We'll talk about different concepts of Azure Stack. We'll also talk about deployment model. There are 2 deployment model in which Azure Stack can be deployed. So we'll talk about that. Then, when you deploy an Azure Stack as a part of SDK, Software Development Kit, which is a downloadable package, there are different VMs which get, built as a part of that. So we'll talk about the Azure Stack architecture and the VMs which get built as a part of that. We'll talk about how secure is Azure Stack, what are the different security mechanisms which Azure Stack offers. We'll get deeper into that, and we'll see how secure it is. Finally, we'll talk about offers and plan. How do you create your plans and offers that your internal customers can subscribe to? So we'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about licensing model, what fees Microsoft is going to collect from you, and what fee hardware OEM is going to collect, plus also the different licensing model even with Microsoft. So we'll talk about that. And finally, what are different OEM vendors which are supporting Azure Stack, or you can buy the integrated system from that. So we'll talk about that too, about the OEM vendor. And obviously, as usual, we'll take question and answer, and please feel free to type in your question in the chat. For a sake of quality, I have muted all the audience. So in case if you have any question, feel free to type in the chat and we'll answer those questions. In case you need to speak up, please let me know and I will unmute yourself and then you can go ahead and ask your question. With that, I will hand it over to Ashish. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thanks, Neeraj, for giving me this opportunity. And as we already discussed the agenda of what we are going to have today. Neeraj, can you just go back to the agenda page?
Sure.
Okay, so I think Neeraj has already described the agenda, what we are going to discuss today. So first of all, I wanted to tell you what is the roadmap for Azure Stack. So how Azure Stack was introduced and what is the idea behind that. So as you all must be knowing that today is a world of digital transformation. Most of the companies are going for digital transformation by migrating their applications, their entire infrastructure to cloud. So Microsoft, as of all of you know, that still there are certain companies such as the financial sectors or the companies where the data is very crucial, that we have confidential data, they still hesitate to move their applications to cloud. So they don't want someone to have the control of their own data. So Microsoft was working on a model where they wanted to have the same cloud services which they are having, that is Azure cloud services. They wanted to have that same cloud services on premises. So Microsoft first introduced a concept called the Windows Azure Pack. Windows Azure Pack, basically it is referred to as a cloud OS, which was built on the foundation of Windows 2012 server along with System Center 2012 R2. So, but this product basically this product is basically, we can consider it as a there are certain disadvantages, or there were certain things due to which we cannot consider it as a perfect cloud, because what are the features which we are getting in the Azure, the public cloud, the same features we are not getting in this the Windows Azure Pack. Apart from there, we should be having a System Center license, which is again a mandatory. Then apart from that, we were having the cost was very high, because we need more hypervisors to run this entire infrastructure. This Windows Azure Pack, which is a cloud OS, is still in existence, and still the customers are using it. But it cannot be a complete hybrid cloud, because the reason for that is the APIs or whatever which we are going to run on your on-premises infrastructure, that cannot be used on your public cloud, because public cloud is something. It cannot be called as a it can be called as a private cloud. So working on this, taking this part into further, Microsoft first announced Windows, that is Microsoft Azure Stack in Ignite 2015, and after that, Microsoft has released three technical previews, that is Technical Preview 1, Technical Preview 2, and Technical Preview 3. And in the mid of September, that is 2017, Microsoft announced the general availability for Azure Stack. So, this is the way how the Azure Stack got introduced. Now I just wanted to tell you what exactly is the Azure Stack, how it is different from the Windows Azure Pack. So Azure Stack is basically a hybrid platform which has been introduced by Microsoft, where we can have the use your Azure cloud services in your own data center. So as you see this figure, okay, so this figure shows this is the Microsoft Azure and the other one is the Microsoft Azure Stack. So we are using the same services we are using in the Azure, the same services we are going to use, we will be getting in the Azure Stack, but the only difference is that this is in your own data center. So you full have control on that data, your data. So so many of the organizations where as I had already discussed, the financial organizations or the organizations where the data is very crucial, they normally they wanted to go with the cloud, but due to the certain security principles, and as you know that recently you all must be aware of the GDPR, which is General Data Protection Regulatory Act for European countries, where as per that law, that no country, that is no European country, can have their data apart from that outside of their country. So in such scenarios, this Azure Stack will play important role because we are having the data center here on premises. So if we are using the same cloud services which we are having in Azure. The only difference is that we are using this from your own data center. We are having a full control on it. Basically, so in a short layman language, what I can say is Azure Stack is an extension of the public Azure cloud. It is a it is just extension of the the Azure public cloud, and it basically uses the concept of software. It is basically, I can call it as software defined data center, where it is using the software defined compute, software defined network, and software defined storage. So as you see in this figure, you are able to see there are developers and there are IT. So this basically I can describe this as as you must be aware of the concept of DevOps. DevOps is where basically this will specify the concept of the culture of DevOps, where we are the developers and the IT professionals, they are working together, and they are uh, uh, creating a culture where you have a continuous integration, continuous deployment, and what is it, self-service management kind of thing. This is basically, I can say, one Azure ecosystem, because we are using the same thing, the same services, the same cloud offering which we are having in the Azure public cloud. The same thing you can have your own center. So this is again a most important advantage of this introduction of the Azure Stack hybrid cloud. So, Neeraj, can we proceed to the next?
Sure. So there is one question, maybe if we can take. Can we move from Azure Pack to Azure Stack? Is that a possibility?
Yes, we can do that. So I would like to highlight one thing here. So as basically what happened is that when Microsoft introduced the Azure Stack, okay, so there were still some customers who are still using Windows Azure Pack. So what Microsoft did is Microsoft developed an Azure Pack connector. So this Azure Pack connector is basically will help you to use the same portal to manage your Windows Azure Pack. Same portal where you are going to manage both the cloud, means your Windows Azure Pack also you can manage from the same portal, and Windows Azure this stack also you can manage from the same portal. So this is again possible, and my Microsoft has basically worked on that for that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So there is a certain concept in Azure Stack. Basically, there are three things I can say in the Azure Stack. As you must be knowing that we have the AZ availability zones in the AWS. The same way we here we can just segregate these concepts in such a way that the entire Azure this is cloud endpoint. Endpoint is a single endpoint means, for example, I can say that it is basically a combination of multiple regions. So in one region we can have one scale unit, and in one scale unit multiple regions will form a single cloud, and multiple what do you say the scale, and in one but the scale units are basically is the hardware box which has been we procure from the hardware vendor, and this box is an integrated Azure Stack integrated system. So basically consists of servers which are called as nodes. So
Yeah, so
this
maybe I can
basically
I
a
can
concept.
yeah, I can just pitch in
Yeah,
here.
sure. No.
So, like,
Yes.
there are four concepts we are trying to depict here. The first one is the cloud. So, the cloud is a single entry point, like, you go portal.azure.com. That's your cloud where you go and provision resources. Similarly, when it comes to Azure Stack concept, you will create a cloud. Now, that cloud will have its distinct URL, which you can decide. Now, within that cloud, you will have multiple regions, like you have Azure has different regions. These regions, you can name as per your, possibility, whatever you want to use it, and region one. So let's say region one, region two, and region three. And every region will have multiple scale units. Now, the scale units are like, a group of servers. So the servers is actual your hardware, but you cannot install one server at a time. You will have to go with the scale unit, and those scale unit consist of minimum 4 servers. So you need to have 4 servers as a part of scale unit. So you cannot say that, okay, I'm running out of capacity, can I add fifth server? No, you cannot do that. You have to add another scale unit, so which will, like, another 4 server you're looking at. So that's the scale, and the scale unit is available in 4 server, 8 server, and 12 servers, if I'm not mistaken. That you can decide depending on what capacity is needed for you. So you have the if you go from bottom up, so you have servers. 4 servers will make up a scale unit. Multiple scale unit will make up, I mean, sorry, one scale unit will make up your region, and then multiple region will make up your one cloud endpoint. So that's the concept of scale unit and regions. All right. Anything you want to add on, Ashish? Ashish, you there?
Hello.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I was on mute. Yeah, Neeraj, you're right. I think you
Uh,
already explained.
yeah, Ashish, there is a difficulty on my side, screen sharing. Can you go ahead and share your screen if that's possible?
Yeah, sure. I'll do it.
Sorry.
Just share my screen.
I'll stop sharing. I'm sorry for technical difficulties. I'm unable to share my screen somehow.
Yes.
Are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, I'm just sharing.
So, Deshkant is saying, can you repeat the same, Neeraj, if you don't mind? Uh, okay, so the concept is very simple. So you have set of servers, and that set of servers is like, depending on 4, 8, and 12. So max 12 you can have. And this 4 server together as a box is called scale unit. So whenever you put in, you will put in one scale unit in one region. Now you can have multiple regions, and every region will have a set of scale units. Or one scale unit rather, and that scale unit will be 4 server or 8 server, or it will be 12 server. Maximum is 12 server as of today, if I know for sure. So you can, based on the capacity, you will do a capacity planning. Yeah, Ashish, we can see your screen, so you can go ahead in presentation mode.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so let's go ahead in presentation mode, and then.
Okay. You want me to share that PPT file, or how is it?
No. I can see your screen, so just press F5 and it will come in.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe we can skip to the fourth slide.
Okay. So I think this has already been discussed by already we discussed that what is cloud, what is region, and what are scale units, and the node servers are basically the nodes which populates a scale unit.
Correct. So I think there was a question, and probably I'll just quickly, and we can also revisit this. So like, as in terms of the scale unit, you have scale unit, like, which consists of multiple servers, and the service is 4 server, 8 server, and 12 server node that you can have scale unit. And the question was, how do we decide what should be scale unit? So you have to do a capacity planning and capacity management. Right. So
right.
you have to do a demand forecasting, and based on that you select your scale unit. So if you're a cloud service provider, based on last year consumption data, you can decide what scale unit fits your bill, and which will be sufficient for you and your organization. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so to add to that, Neeraj, basically when you procure this hardware from your OEM, okay, so normally there is a capacity planner sheet which basically we need to fill in, and that capacity planner sheet will basically give you idea about to the OEM vendor. So which is how many scale units do you need, and what is your requirement. So that capacity planner sheet will help you in this, because that is basically because when you go with this deployment, so this capacity planner sheet has been to be filled by filled and submitted to the OEM vendor.
All right, thank you. I think that answers Alpe's question. So we can move on to the next slide.
Okay. So see Azure Stack deployment model. Azure Stack deployment model as of now. There are two things here. As you know, Azure Stack is available as it's a free tier. That is a free single server deployment, which is Azure Stack Development Kit, which is a software that is just for evaluation. So Microsoft has introduced it just to evaluate what are the features that we are having for Azure Stack, just for doing the POC of your. It is called as Azure Stack POC. So you can just do a POC, and you can just check all the features, and you can just test the features. So you can have just a POC concept using Azure Stack Development Kit, and this is just a single node. So because this is just for testing purpose, we cannot have this in your production environment. And for production environment, we have the Azure Stack integrated systems, which are multi nodes, such as 4, 8, 12. So as per your requirement, you can just go ahead and procure this Azure Stack integrated systems from the hardware vendors such as Cisco, HP, Dell, Lenovo. There are other partners as well coming up, hardware partners.
Yeah, I think Huawei is another one, a recent addition to that. Huawei
is there, yes. Huawei is there. I think there is one more. Wattman is there. Wattman is also there. So yeah. Okay. So the deployment model. So this is a very interesting thing, I can say, because there are two ways we can deploy the Azure Stack. Okay. So Azure Stack deployment we can do. without internet and with internet. So when we go with Azure Stack without internet, which is called Azure disconnected deployment, so we don't need to have we need to go with ADFS. So there are two identities basically for that, on which we can do the deployment of Azure Stack. One is using Azure AD, that is authentication, and second is using ADFS authentication. So when you go with disconnected type of deployment, you need to go with ADFS identity, and when you go with internet, when either you can go with Azure AD or you can go with ADFS. So, so this will basically help in the scenarios where we have in the remote areas where we have not proper internet, we don't have proper bandwidth. In such areas, some remote areas, also we can do the Azure Stack deployment in disconnected deployment using disconnected deployment model. This I will be able to discussing this capacity based model, and this you will be able to come to know when we go with the licensing model. So even though when we go with this disconnected kind of deployment, you cannot go with the enterprise agreement. You need to go with the capacity based billing model. So we are going to discuss this, what is the capacity based billing model and the enterprise agreement model, when we are going to cover on that Azure Stack licensing part. So these are the two deployment models and in Azure Stack. Any questions on this?
No, I don't see any question, but I just want to add on top of to this, right? So there are two models. When I say disconnected model, basically in disconnected model, it will be a local, and you will not be able to connect to Azure public cloud. Now, the difference between these two model is in Azure disconnected deployment, as you rightly said, if you don't have internet connectivity, in that case, we can obviously go with Azure disconnected model. You can also go with disconnected model if you want to keep your Azure public cloud separate and Azure Stack separate, billing separate. In that case, in disconnected model, you will have separate billing. But if you go with Azure connected model, where it is connected to internet and it's connected to your Azure public cloud, in that case, you will get one integrated billing where the actual billing will come as a part of Azure public cloud billing. So this question from Alpesh, are we doing? Unfortunately, Alpesh, no, will not be, but we are planning, we'll arrange for that session for now. All right, let's move on to the next slide, Ashish.
Okay. So this is basically the logical architecture of Azure Stack Development Kit. So when we install the Azure Stack Development Kit, we are going to have this 13 VMs, which are the Azure Stack, which will form the Azure Stack infrastructure roles, and these VMs will sit on the Hyper-V. And we have this. These are the public switch. There are two. Basically, there are two switches, which is a public switch and there is a SDN switch. Okay, this Azure Stack networking will consist of two switches, that is a public switch and SDN switch. Basically, basically what happens is that when we deploy the Azure Stack, so Azure Stack is basically uses the concept of software-defined networking. So everything is managed by the network controller feature of Windows 2016 server. So so there is a new feature, a new role in Windows 2016 server, which is a network controller role, and this network controller role will basically take care of this software defining networking in the entire Azure Stack.
Yeah, just to add on top of it, when you install these, Azure Stack development kits, a dev kit, we're talking about the POC you're doing and a proof of concept. As a part of that proof of concept, what it will do is it will install a Windows 2016 operating system with Azure Stack, which will have Azure Stack development kit, the host OS. On top of that, hypervisor will get installed. And then, as a part of Azure Stack infrastructure roles, these are the different servers, VMs, which will play different roles. So, for example, ACS role, the ADFS 01 will play the ADFS role. CA01 will play the role of certification authority. AZS-DC01 will play the role of a domain controller, and so on. I think we have the complete list, and we'll probably not go through all the list. And then similarly, you have Gateway 01, which is for your VPN gateway. Then NC01 as a network controller, and so on. So these VMs have defined roles. They play different roles, which probably plays into the bigger picture of making Azure Stack possibility, or Azure Stack as a complete holistic picture. And behind that, these servers are there. And Ashish talked about the software-defined networking, the SDN switch. So you have public switch, which lets you connect out to internet. So that public switch is where it will come into the picture, and that is again our VM, which provides that software-defined networking feature. So there are a couple of questions, Ashish. So one question, so all Azure Stack infrastructure role VM. Yes, so all Azure Stack infrastructure runs as a VM, correct? All those roles are runs as a VM, which run on top of the hypervisor of Windows 2016, which is optimized for Azure Stack. Will be connected to SDN switch. I don't understand your question, Vijay, so maybe you can type it and we'll try to answer that.
Okay, to add on to that, Neeraj, one more thing I wanted to tell you is all these VMs are 2016 core servers. So we don't have any GR in that. So that is again to add the security of the Azure Stack. So all these VMs are we don't have GR for that. So anything we want to do, we need to do from the host Azure Stack host. And normally in this Azure Stack integrated systems, we normally don't have access as well to these VMs, because that there are certain this basically locked infrastructure, and in certain scenarios only, for example, this ERCS, which is Emergency Recovery Console VM, we can get access to this VM, because that is used for doing certain troubleshooting, and that is again done with the help of Microsoft only, because when thing goes wrong and we want to see what is going wrong, or what exactly we need to access this the entire system. So there is certain code that is being given by Microsoft, and after entering that code only we'll be having access to this emergency recovery console VM.
All right, there's some other question which I'll try to answer in the chat. So the question is, if we have AD and want to deploy where internet not available, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. You can deploy your domain controllers for sure. It doesn't depend on internet connectivity. All Azure Stack Infra VMs will be connected to SDN switch internally. So
Yes. All will be connected to whenever you create this Azure Stack infrastructure, basically deploy this. So this will be having this public switch and SDN switch. So both switches are there.
Correct.
So only thing is that we need to this VM, which is BGP NAT01. This VM is basically VM which will help us to provide internet to your entire Azure Stack host. So from where you can access the Azure Stack admin portal and Azure Stack user portal.
All right.
Okay.
Yep. Let's move on to the next slide.
So I think we already covered this. This AZL, this is basically the Azure Stack consistent storage. This VM will help us to provide the storage request. For example, we are creating a storage account. So when you're going to create a storage account, so that this VM will play an important role in getting the storage account created. Then as of now in ADFS, that is Active Directory Federation Service. So this is basically used in as we already discussed, when we have a disconnected deployment. This basically VM will play a major role in authenticating your in providing authentication for your service account. Then NAT 0, this is basically, as I already discussed, this is basically providing internet to your Azure Stack host by using this VM. This VM is not available in your Azure Stack integrated systems. This is only available in your Azure Stack development kit. Then the CA, this is basically help us to provide a certificate, CA server, which will provide the certification, a certificate to your entire Azure Stack infrastructure services, and these certificates are renewed every 30 days. Then we have this DC, which is again an important role, which is a directory which will provide the DNS DHCP services. Emergency console VM, as we already discussed. Then this is the gateway, which provide site-to-site connectivity for tenant networks. So if you want to have a site-to-site VPN, then this VM will play an important role. Then we have network controller, which will manage the network services. So entire software-defined networking will be taken care by this. This is again a role in Windows 2016 servers. So this VM will take care of that part. I think this is double. Okay. Then we have the load balancing. For load balancing, we want to have set up a load balancing in your entire Azure Stack. So that this VM will play an important role in that. Then for internal data store for Azure Stack, basically. This SQL data will not have your infrastructure, that is a tenant data. Okay, it will only have your Azure Stack internal data store. It will because when you're creating a SQL server or anything, so that is not stored here. This will have only for the internal data store for the internal Azure Stack infrastructure. Then we have WAS01, which is helping to Azure Stack admin portal. So there are two portals in Azure Stack. One is the Azure Stack admin portal and Azure Stack tenant portal. So tenant portal is also called as a user portal. So admin portal is basically used by the Azure Stack operator, who basically creates the offers and plans and the subscriptions. And this subscription is again used by the tenant portal, which is the user who is actually using this, consuming these services. So this WAS P01 is a tenant portal. Then this XRP01, this is a management controller. Basically, this we are going to see in the next architecture, which will give the detailed view where we have the compute, network, and storage resource providers. So anything in this?
So I think these are the servers that Microsoft will install as a part of Azure Stack Development Kit. So
this will be available in the Azure Stack integrated systems as well.
Okay.
Only that VM, which I said, that BGP NAT 01, won't be available in this integrated system, because in integrated system we have the TOR, which is called as top-up rack switches.
Yeah.
So that is again I can say the combined system hardware which we get from the vendor.
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead. There's one question. How do you deploy Azure disconnected? I mean, I'm not sure, what I mean, if you want to deploy in disconnected manner, when you do the install, make sure that you select that option, right? And also you have to ensure that you don't connect to internet. Obviously, you will need some connectivity from backend channels so that Microsoft can patch your service and all those. But apart from that, probably you don't require internet connection for disconnected.
Yes, so if you want to deploy in the disconnected model, the same thing that as Neeraj explained, if, in a scenarios where we don't have internet or something like that. So there is not, but one thing I wanted to make sure here is that we want to make sure is that when you are going for a deployment, you need to decide at the start of deployment itself whether we want to go with
Yeah,
with internet or without internet. So if you are going with internet and later you want to switch to ADFS, that is not possible.
not most.
So we need to redeploy the entire thing again.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I think that answers the question. So let's move on to the next slide.
Okay, so as we already discussed, the logical architecture. Now we are we are going to the entire detailed architecture of Azure Stack. This architecture of Azure Stack is basically divided into these layers, which is the first layer is the ARM layer, which is Azure Resource Manager layer. So Azure Resource Manager layer is a layer where we have this Azure Resource Manager templates, where you have PowerShell, Azure. So you're in ARM layer where you're using the Azure portal and you're creating certain resources or certain VMs or certain storage accounts. From the basically which provide the IIS and PaaS services. So this resource provider, basically what it will do, it will provide the requested resource. For example, help in providing the requested resource. For example, I need a compute. So I will go to, whenever the request comes from Azure portal, it will go to your this compute resource provider in your resource provider layer, and from that it will again send this to the compute controller, which will accept that request, and the compute controller will help in accept that request, and it will provide the requested resource. So that will be taken care at the hardware level where we actually have our compute. Then we have this infrastructure control layer. So all the controllers, such as we have this storage controller, which is for storage resource, which will interact with storage resource provider. Then the compute controller will we have interaction with compute resource provider. Then we have network controller, which will have interaction with the network resource provider. Then we have the health controller, which is basically used for which will interact with health resource provider. So this will basically a conceptual thing, but all these things are integrated in such a way that so whenever any request comes, so depending upon whatever the request, the particular resource provider will accept that request and send to the proper controller, and the controller will take care of getting that requested compute, storage, or network. So we have right now we discussed all these VMs. Okay, so all these VMs are the instances which will fall under this infrastructure roles, as we already discussed the logical entity where we have the infrastructure roles. So this ACS, this is Azure Consistent Storage, this is network controller. Then we have this then we have this this health controller. Then we have this ARM. We have ADFS. We have certificate management. We have directory management, where we have this is basically the AD server. So this is complete. So in short, if I want to give an example that I already given, that if you want to create a compute resource, okay. So you will be working in the ARM layer, and you will be creating the compute request. That compute request is being taken care by compute resource provider, and the compute resource provider will send it to the compute controller, and the compute controller will help us to get interact with the actual hardware layer and get that compute created for us.
All right, yeah, we can move on to the next slide. I think there was some chat, so we're fine.
So this Azure Resource Manager layer that's already discussed, all this ARM components, which is the PowerShell, then your Azure Portal, then your CLI. All this will fall in the Azure Resource Manager layer. Then we have this resource provider level, which is already explained that this will provide the offer the resources, Azure resources. Consider the IaaS resource where we need a compute, where the tenant is requesting for one compute. Then that will be basically taken care by this resource provider layer. Then the infrastructure control layer, which will handle all the requests from the, it will take the requests from the resource providers and then turn them into the actions within the system. That's what I said, that it will take the request from the resource provider layer and it will give it to the controller. In the controller, it will basically help us to create the requested resource. And the hardware layer is the actual networks and switches and the compute basically, which will all this will fall under the entire hardware, which will fall under this hardware layer. So I can say at this point of the scale unit is the entire hardware layer. Okay.
Yep. I think we're good.
Okay. So Azure Stack security. So I just wanted to do this. Azure Stack security is of very importance because even though you're using this data on your own premises, there are certain basically what do you say? Concepts, certain principles which Microsoft follows. There are two principles which Microsoft follows. One is called as assume breach, and other is called as harden by default. So what do you mean by that two concepts? Okay, so assume breach is basically where we, rather than we normally what do is we just try to think of from this point of view where this my account or my the entire infrastructure will get breached. So rather than thinking of that, we'll just try to find out how we can take care of that, how we can mitigate that risk. So as you know that most of the times we are using the admin account, and most of the times the admin account gets compromised. So for that reason, we have the constant administration model here, where we have the least privileges. We are we can use the role-based access control list. We can have the assign the this roles as per the as per his work. For example, a person who is working on certain helpdesk part, he will be just given the role which he can do with that particular role. So then there is a thing we call just administration. That is we'll just not we'll give the admin rights, but just enough administration is basically we'll just give the rights, but which is required for performing that activity, and no rights apart from that. Then we have the data which is at rest, that is been encrypted using the BitLocker encryption. The data which is in transit, which is flowing in between, in transition, which it is again encrypted using TLS 1.2. Then we have this what do you say Windows 2016 feature called as credential guard. So this credential guard will basically what it will help us to achieve these two things, which is secret management and the code integrity. So the code integrity is the concept where the thing is where the applications, I can say it is application whitelisting. So where we are the code, which is basically digital signed by your Microsoft or OEM vendor, only we can run that code on this infrastructure. no other things. Means we cannot do any third-party installation as well. So that is again application whitelisting, where we are not allowed to install any third-party applications on this infrastructure. Okay, secret management. Secret management is basically the passwords which we use for the service accounts, which are normally rotated by every as per the rotation policy which we set. So then we have the anti-malware, which is again the Windows Defender feature. It is antivirus feature from Windows Server, which will take care of to not to have any anti-malware, or to prevent from an that is the virus or something like that, or malware stuff. Then we have the network controls. So network controls is I can consider network control is the network ACLs, the firewalls. Then we can have this the network security groups. So all this thing will fall under the network controls, where we will make sure that the entire system is secure. Even though network security group is something that that means we need to configure that, means that is not something. So by default also when we install this Azure Stack infrastructure, we are having the certain restrictions. We are only allowed to have this particular traffic allowed, particular inbound and outbound traffic to the Azure Stack infrastructure.
So Amit has a question, and Amit, to be honest, I don't know the answer, but probably I'll defer it to Ashish. Is the shared access signature also available in Azure Stack storage?
Yes. Whatever feature which we are having, that is feature which we are having using in Azure public cloud, the same thing we can use in the Azure Stack. So we can have whenever you're going to create a storage account, we can have SAS, we can have this
access keys. Access keys.
Yeah, access key. Yeah, the access keys. Yeah, access keys and the shared access signature. We can have both the things. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to the next slide.
Okay, so offers. So Azure Stack basically. So I just wanted to, from the business point of view, I can say there are two things here. First thing is Azure Stack can be used for your own purpose. Second thing, you can use Azure Stack. You can be a cloud service provider, and you can use Azure Stack as a service to your clients. So why I discussed the two things here, because when we want to go ahead with this plans and offers, okay, so we need to either we can use this for ourselves, for our own purpose, or we can use it as a service and to service to our clients. So basically in Azure Stack we have the tenant. Under tenant we have the subscription. Under subscription we have offer. Under offer we have plan, and plan we have the services. So so what is offer? Okay, offer is basically a grouping of two or more services together, okay, two or more plans together. Okay, so when you want to create, for example, when you install the Azure Stack development kit, or when you Azure Stack integrated system, you cannot directly go ahead and use it. So for that, we need to first create a plan. We need to create first subscription. Under subscription, we will be having an offer and plans. And under plan, we will be having services. So what service we need for that? So so basically, offer is basically a group of plans. Under plans, we'll having the services. So services is a group. Plans are grouping of one or more services. Okay. So consider, I'll just give one example. Okay, for example, I need to create this VM window, any virtual machine. Okay, so for that virtual machine to be available, I need to just first make sure that I have a plan created for that. Okay, so in plan, what I will do, I'll just create one plan. Under plan, I will create the services. So what services I need? For example, I need this VM. So for VM, I need that is Microsoft.compute service. So I will select the Microsoft.compute service, and I will give the resource group name for that, and I will create one plan. Okay, once that plan is created, I will create the offer. Under that plans also, we need to create some quotas. Okay, so quotas basically what they will define the limits for particular user can consume. And so, for example, I need to provide a VM which is having only five that is 10 cores. Okay, so I cannot if I have a plan which is created to have VMs of 10 cores, so I cannot create a VM which is having that is more than 10 cores CPU. Okay, so if you want to add have that, then I need to create one add-on plan, and that add-on plan is again created by the Azure Stack operator who will be creating that add-on plan. And that add-on plan I need to create one more. That I need to have additional course for this particular subscription. And once this entire thing is created, for example, I have created the plan. Under plan, I'll created the offer, and then the quota, everything is set. I will this entire thing will be called fall under the subscription, and this subscription is made available to the users who are consuming these resources. So when you create this offer, when you create this entire subscription, this subscription is made available to your particular tenant, and the tenant is go to his tenant portal and go to click on that option, use this subscription. And once he select this subscription, he will be able to use all the services which are provided in this particular offer. So for example, we need a compute, or we need a network, or we need a storage. So whatever thing is requested. So as per the created plan, we can have the services. And one more thing I wanted to add here is that there are three states of offers. Okay, when you create an offer, there are three states in that offer. We can have that offer either as a public, we can have it as a private, or we can have as a decommission. So what are the difference between these three? So when the Azure Stack administrator create the offer and set it is to as a public, so when it is set is to public, the tenant can go ahead and subscribe to that offer and use these services. Okay, so in such a scenario where I don't want my offers to be, or my subscription to be used by any of my client or something due to certain reason. I don't have proper resources. My storage capacity has gone above the limit. Okay, so what I will do, I will make this as a private, and so that no one know my customer or my end users, they are going to go ahead and create any subscription, or they are going to create any resources in that. Then again, there is one more offer which is called as a decommission state. Decommission state is basically when we have a situation that we have this the entire resources as full, we don't have the enough capacity, but we want the existing subscription to work. We don't want to hamper that, or we want to don't disturb the existing subscribed users. So what we will do is we will set it to the decommission state. In that state, the existing subscribers or existing users they will be able to use the subscription, but no the other new users can subscribe to this offer or subscribe to this entire subscription.
Thanks, Ashish, for explaining.
I'm too fast.
No, Ashish,
I think I was too fast.
No, you're good. I think you explained it really well, and you went further deeper into offers. So I think we are good here, so we can move on. And probably we can save some 10 to 15 minutes in last if we can cover those, and then we'll open the floor for questions and answers, and we can take those questions.
Yeah, sure. So as we already discussed, the licensing model. Okay, so there are two licensing models in Azure Stack. First is pay-as-you-use model. This is the basically I can say the model where we consider it as your electricity bill, or consider it as your water bill, where we are whatever the resources which we are using, we are paying for that only. So this pay-as-you model is basically we can get this pay-as-you model either by enterprise agreement with the Microsoft or by a cloud service provider. So this is basically the cost-effective solution, I can say, because we are using only for the paying for only those services which are being used by us. Then we have this other model which is called as capacity. So capacity model is basically I can say we cannot go have this capacity model by cloud service provider. We need to have the enterprise agreement only, because we are using a fixed annual subscription fee. We are not going to pay for whatever we are going to use. So we have a fixed agreement that these are the some resources that annually I'm going to use this much of resources, and this is what I'm going to pay for that for 1 year. Okay, so this model is best suited for disconnected scenarios where we don't have internet, because for pay-as-you model we need internet, because without internet we can't connect to your Azure public cloud. And because this licensing model, pay-as-you model, how it works is that whatever the resource which we are going to use in your entire Azure Stack infrastructure, that is being sent to your Azure public cloud via Azure Breach, and this is again at this Azure public cloud by using the Microsoft Business Intelligence or any other analytical tool. They prepare the bill, and that bill is being sent to you, and you'll be able to see that bill. We will get that bill in your email, and you can see that bill in your account operator status on from your the Azure portal as well. Yeah. Anything in this?
I think yeah, there are some questions. Probably what we'll do is, let's cover. I think we have 2 more slides, and after that we'll open the floor for questions, and we'll take the questions.
Okay. And one more thing I want to do is that we are having existing Windows licenses. In that case, we can use that existing Windows licenses. So you'll be charged only for the base VM usage. So we can have the BYOL, that is being your own license, where we can use that licenses for your infrastructure purpose. So as of now, we have this OEM vendors, Cisco, Dell EMC, HP, Lenovo, Huawei. There are other vendors as well coming up, but as of now, we can get the Azure Stack infrastructure from this certified vendors. If you want to go with Azure Stack systems, you can go with any of these vendors, and they will take care of the Azure Stack deployment. And I want to highlight one more point here is that even though you purchase this Azure Stack from Microsoft, you need to have 2. Okay, so we cannot because when you're purchasing this agreement from Microsoft, the hardware is not provided by Microsoft. Hardware is provided by OEM. So Microsoft will help you with the anything happens on the Azure Stack or anything related to that. But any hardware support we need, you'll be need to contact your OEM vendor. You will a ticket with the OEM vendor, and the OEM vendor will be in touch with Microsoft as well. So to confirm that the entire issue is resolved, until that nobody is going to close the ticket, because both the OEM vendor and Microsoft will be in sync when you have any issues with your hardware or anything on the Azure Stack. Okay, sorry.
So there are some question on licensing. Probably we can address that.
Okay, I'll just.
So one question is fixed fee model based on the reserved instance?
Reserve instance, I cannot say exactly. We can somewhat, I can say that it is a reserve instance, but it is basically a model where we are already having a agreement, and that we are going to have this much of resources, and we can somewhat relate to reserve instance category. That we are using this much of resource, and we are having, what do you say, we are paying for that annual subscription for that particular.
Yep.
Okay, I think now we can go ahead. I think there was some disturbance here, so I just muted Dinesh.
Hi Ashish and hi Neeraj. So just a quick question was there from us. I did post it in the chat also. The question was related to the Azure Stack's POC, because I remember we used to do POC since it was in TP, so we could utilize TPs and use our lab trimmed or even trim the TPs to actually be placed on our limited edition hardware or any hardware for that matter. I started from TP1 till TP3. I used to do that. Now the question is, obviously, there could be some vendors or some service providers who may say this, if there are situations where the customers just want to see the feasibility of Azure Stack instead of actually buying or getting the demos from different organizations, because they don't want to fall trap on the sales part, right? So can they still use those TPs? Are these TPs? I'm not sure, because I haven't used for some time now. Are they still available to be used as POCs?
Yeah, Azure Stack Development Kit is again the POC only. So that is of all the features. So we can have this Azure Stack POC, but only concern here is that you need to have the hardware for that. So if you're not having the hardware, then you need to go with something on Azure, and again that is going to be a very costly for you, because I did my lab and I had deployed that, but something that that might work or that might not work, because the entire lab is basically actually it will take around 15 to 16 hours for the deployment. And after deployment, we need to have certain configurations. We need to have the registration. We need to have certain things in that. So in the entire huge thing, I need to pay the entire day and night for that. So
Ashish, can you bring back these slides? Maybe we can refer those during.
That's not so easy. Yeah.
Because
Ashish, just a request. Can you bring back the slide on the screen?
Say that is because when you say hardware in TP, is it about limited certain limitations with the hardware can also used, like it doesn't need to be from Dell or other vendors, it can be any hardware, or with the certain minimum requirement?
We can do that way, but there are certain tricks and for that. So there are
Yeah.
certain configuration changes we need to do, because when I was deploying this on my this Azure VM, so there are basically certain articles. Even though this is not supported by Microsoft,
Yeah, this is not
Microsoft
support.
don't
The
support
trimming
this.
of got it.
Microsoft, yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, so I think there's a
Yeah, Neeraj,
question. Yeah, so let's bring back the slides, and if there is any question, we can always, go
the
back and forth between the slides.
slides are open.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. All right, so I think there's a question from Shobit. He's saying right now only the certified vendor hardware is approved. Yeah, that's correct, Shobit. I think, and we did discuss that. So,
Yeah,
uh,
the reason for that is because if there are no certified vendors, so everyone go procure the hardware and go and start the installation of this. So there won't be any standardization for that, and there won't be the hardware or something that won't be certified by Microsoft. So whatever the OEM vendors which Microsoft has been provided as an tie-up, these are certified vendors, and they all have the necessary hardware which is required for Azure Stack to function properly.
Okay.
all right. Any other questions?
Ashish and Neeraj, Srini
Hey,
here.
hey, Srini.
I just wanted to check if is it the right forum to talk about the, I would say, your feedbacks or your experience on taking the exam on the Azure Stack. Has anyone taken the exam recently? I
Uh,
guess you had mentioned that you
ye-
would be taking.
okay. I did took my exam just last week, the beta exam, but I can say that the beta exam is not so easy, and there are a lot of things are involved and a lot of. So I would ask you to wait for the until. The final when the actual exam will be in I think that will be coming by next month, I think so. I don't know, Neeraj, I think the next month I think they're going to release the actual exam, right?
Yeah, I think the Azure Stack exam was in beta, and the 15th March was the last day to take the exam. And
Last
I
date, yes, that
Yeah,
was the
and
last date,
Shobit
yeah.
and Shobit also, I know Shobit, and in fact I also registered, but unfortunately, like I couldn't take the exam at the last moment.
The under an operator, what kind of permissions he or she might have. Those were the basic questions that I can remember off the top of my head.
Thanks, Shobit. Thanks for giving a detailed rundown. I think it was really good. Sharing on your part. I think it really helped the audience here.
So I would say that the exam was more the person who has not hands-on the Azure Stack, it would be difficult for him to
Correct.
crack that exam, because because deployed this kit, and I'm aware of most of the things, but then also there are certain questions which you cannot means very tricky questions. So until you have the full the understanding and full experience on Azure Stack, you cannot crack this exam. That's what
That's absolutely right. And as you said, now remember there were a couple of questions exactly like you have in your 533, where they have given you scenarios, and then they say align the right answers along in the right.
arrange the order. Yeah.
Yes, arrange the
Yes.
order, how you will do it. Then there was one question which I think it had 3 or 4 different versions, but almost the same topic. That was how would you proceed if like you start in updating your Azure stack and then it gets stuck. What is the once they asked what is the command to re-update or restart the update, and the other question they asked, what happens? Does it starts from scratch or does it continues from the same place? Um, and in one question they had, what is the command that you need to run?
Shobit,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt here, but I was a little curious about one of the major things here in this exam. Since it's more of a private cloud stuff. So what about the SDN part? Was ever in the entire exam or even in the study curriculum, did they ever mention about SDN part? That is, software defined networking part separately, any section of it or any question related to it?
I will have to think. Don't recall on the top of my head.
So.
Yeah, I don't recall on the top of my head.
I think we should not discuss these things actually on the forum, because we can just discuss this thing scenario, but we discuss the entire question.
No, yeah.
That
I
is
mean,
again
I agree.
NDA which
Yes, I agree
No,
with
the
Ashish.
idea here, I really apologize, Ashish. It's not to actually understand what questions you faced, but actually it is to understand if this concept is also included in the entire exam.
I think
wanted to understand because
probably
it's
for
more of-
yeah, so probably for that, you can refer the exam objective which Microsoft has published onto their website. That will give you more idea what they're covering and not. So I think, and we are on top of hour. We have only 1 minute left, so probably we'll have to end our call here, our session today here. And I want to thank everybody for joining our call today and our session today. I'm really, really helpful and really thankful to everybody who has joined. And I really appreciate Ashish taking out the time and giving a presentation on Azure Stack. It was really, I hope, it was helpful and for the audience. And we'll keep doing these kind of sessions even in future. So stay tuned. Do subscribe by going to our website, and that way you will receive our regular updated invites, and you can join those sessions too in future. So thank you once again for everybody for joining our call today, and we will publish the video recording soon onto our YouTube channel. If you missed it or somebody else or your colleague missed it, please do ask them to view it once it is uploaded onto our YouTube channel.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks, all.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
You too. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Bye.